Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep into the world of conspiracy theories with a look at Project Bluebeam.
Definitely.
It's not a new energy drink,
Right.
as you might guess from the name,
Yeah.
but a theory claiming that NASA is orchestrating this massive global hoax to usher in a new world order.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's
it's pretty wild.
it's a really fascinating example of how these theories can really tap into our anxieties about technology,
Yeah,
religion, and global control.
right.
Project Bluebeam, as outlined by Serge Monast,
Oh, yeah, Serge Monast.
a journalist and conspiracy theorist from Quebec, Canada,
Right.
essentially posits that everything from UFO sightings to major world events is part of this big elaborate plan.
So we've got some articles from Rational Wiki and Wikipedia about Monast and his theories ready to unpack just how this grand scheme is supposed to work.
Good stuff.
Buckle up, because this one gets pretty wild.
What's interesting about Project Bluebeam is how it pulls together all these various conspiracy threads into one overarching narrative.
Right.
Monast claimed that NASA, working alongside the UN,
Genuine. Yeah.
would use this advanced technology to stage a fake second coming of Christ
A fake second coming.
as the ultimate deception.
Okay, that's a pretty big claim right out of the gate.
Yeah.
What's the supposed motivation behind such an audacious plan?
Well, the idea is to manipulate people into abandoning their existing religions
Okay.
and embracing a new global belief system, effectively paving the way for this new world order that Monast was so convinced of.
Right.
He laid out a four-step process
Yeah.
in his 1994 book,
1994 Project Bluebeam NASA.
Project Bluebeam NASA.
Yeah,
4 Steps to Global Religious and Societal Upheaval.
that's right.
All right, let's break this down. What's the first move in this cosmic game of chess?
So step one targets our understanding of history and faith.
Okay.
Monast believed they would use sophisticated technology to fake earthquakes.
At key archaeological sites around the world.
Oh.
Then they'd plant fake artifacts that contradict established religious doctrines, creating doubt and confusion.
So imagine they discover a scroll that completely rewrites the story of, say, the Ten Commandments.
Right.
Would that really be enough to make people question their deeply held beliefs? I mean, religious faith can be pretty unshakable, right?
Yeah, that's a valid point.
Yeah.
It raises questions about just how effective this step would be
Right.
in achieving its goal after all people have clung to their beliefs for centuries, even in the face of contradicting evidence.
Right.
But the idea here is to sow those seeds of doubt,
Okay.
to make people question what they thought was true.
So step one is all about shaking the foundations of belief.
Uh-huh.
What's next in Monast's grand plan?
This is where things get really theatrical.
Okay.
Step 2 involves gigantic holographic projections in the sky,
Okay.
depicting various deities or religious figures.
So like a divine laser show
That's right,
for the whole world to see.
for the whole world.
That's a pretty dramatic way to grab everyone's attention.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone just casually looking up and going, oh, there's Buddha hanging out next to Jesus. Must be Tuesday.
Well, Monast's theory goes even further.
Oh, really?
These holographic images would eventually merge into a single, universal Antichrist figure.
An antichrist.
He even claimed that the Soviets had developed a supercomputer
Oh, no.
capable of manipulating people's thoughts and inducing suicidal tendencies.
Hold on, a mind control supercomputer.
Yeah.
That sounds more like something out of a science fiction movie than a real-world possibility.
Right.
In our tech-savvy world, wouldn't people be more likely to recognize these holographic displays for what they are? Advanced technology, not divine intervention.
That's a key question to consider.
Right.
How susceptible would we be to this kind of manipulation
Yeah.
in an age where we're constantly bombarded with sophisticated special effects and digital imagery?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so they've shaken our faith and wowed us with holographic deities. What's step 3 in this supposed takeover?
Step 3 delves into the realm of mind control
Okay.
and what Monast called telepathic electronic communication.
Telepathic electronic communication.
He believed that ELF radio waves,
Okay.
extremely low-frequency waves, would be used to transmit thoughts directly into people's minds, making them believe that God was speaking to them directly.
So instead of seeing images in the sky, people would start hearing voices in their heads,
Yes.
convinced it's a message from the divine.
Right.
That's a chilling thought, but is there any scientific basis for this kind of technology?
Yeah.
Could ELF waves really be used to manipulate our thoughts and beliefs in such a precise way?
While ELF waves do exist and have certain properties,
Right.
the idea that they could be used to implant specific thoughts or messages into people's minds
Okay.
is highly unlikely according to our current understanding of science.
So while the concept is terrifying,
Yeah.
the science behind it doesn't quite hold up.
Right.
That leaves us with the grand finale, step 4. What happens when they've set the stage with doubt, spectacle, and attempted mind control?
So step 4 is where the real chaos unfolds.
Okay.
Monis describes this three-pronged approach to creating global panic and disorder.
All right.
First, they'd simulate alien invasions in major cities around the world.
Alien invasions. Okay, now it definitely feels like we've stepped into a summer blockbuster film.
Right.
Is there a giant spaceship casting a shadow over the White House in this scenario?
The idea is to exploit our fear of the unknown,
Okay.
tapping into those deep-seated anxieties about extraterrestrial threats
Right.
that have permeated our culture for decades.
So they're playing on our existing fears. Clever, but wouldn't that kind of large-scale event be impossible to keep secret?
Right.
Someone would leak the truth, right?
Well, according to Monist, the plan relies on a level of secrecy and control that's hard to fathom.
Okay.
And remember, this is all happening against the backdrop of a world already primed for a new world order.
Right.
A world where people are questioning their beliefs,
Yep.
looking for answers.
Right. They've already set the stage with the first 3 steps. It's
Yeah.
like they're building to a crescendo of fear and confusion.
Yeah.
What's the second prong in this plan for global mayhem?
The second prong targets a specific religious group, Christians.
Okay.
The idea is to trick them into believing the rapture is happening.
So they're simultaneously scaring people with aliens and exploiting religious beliefs to create even more chaos.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty risky strategy,
Yeah.
trying to manipulate so many different groups with such diverse beliefs and fears.
That's one of the major criticisms of this theory.
Okay.
It relies on an improbable level of coordination and control
Right.
over a vast and complex web of events.
Yeah.
But for believers in Project Bluebeam,
Okay.
these seemingly disparate events all connect back to this central, sinister plan.
It's like a giant conspiracy puzzle where every piece fits together perfectly in their minds.
Yep.
Okay, we've got aliens and the rapture.
Right.
What's the third and final act in this grand finale of chaos?
This is where things get even more bizarre.
Okay.
Monis talked about supernatural forces being unleashed through technology,
Okay.
specifically phone lines and electronics.
So like our smartphones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He envisioned widespread panic and mayhem caused by these unseen forces.
Supernatural forces through the phone lines. Now we've definitely crossed over from science fiction into the realm of the paranormal.
Right.
It seems like this step relies on a lot of unknowns
Yeah.
and a healthy dose of fear of the unseen.
Right, and it raises questions about the internal logic of the theory itself.
Mm-hmm.
How do these supernatural elements fit into a plan that's supposedly orchestrated by a scientific organization like NASA?
Right?
It's a strange mix of technological manipulation
Sure.
and supernatural occurrences that's never fully explained.
It sounds like Monis was pulling from a lot of different sources to construct this narrative. We've got elements of science fiction, religious prophecy, and even a dash of the supernatural all woven together. It's a fascinating example of how these theories can tap into our deepest fears and anxieties,
Yeah.
offering a seemingly coherent explanation for a world that can often feel chaotic and unpredictable.
And that's exactly why these theories can be so compelling.
You're right.
They offer a sense of order and understanding in the face of complexity.
Okay.
They provide a clear enemy, a defined threat, and a simple narrative that resonates with people who are looking for answers.
But if this plan is so complex and far-reaching,
Yeah.
wouldn't there be some evidence of it?
Mm-hmm.
Surely someone would have blown the whistle on such a massive operation by now, right?
That's another point of contention.
Okay.
Critics of Project Bluebeam point to the lack of concrete evidence to support any of its claims.
Right.
The theory relies heavily on interpretations of events and vague connections,
Right.
rather than hard proof.
So it's more about connecting the dots than presenting undeniable evidence.
Exactly.
It sounds like a lot of it hinges on faith, not facts.
And that's one of the hallmarks of many conspiracy theories. They often require a leap of faith, a willingness to accept the narrative, even in the absence of concrete proof.
Okay, so we've got these 4 steps
Yeah.
that are supposed to lead to global chaos and the establishment of a new world order.
Right.
But what exactly did Monist envision for this new world?
Yeah.
What was the end goal of all this manipulation and upheaval?
So Monist's predictions for the post-Blue Beam world were quite bleak.
Okay.
He described a totalitarian regime where individual freedoms would be severely restricted,
Oh, wow.
and people would be forced to submit to this new global order.
So it's not just about changing religious beliefs. It's
Yeah.
about complete societal control.
Yes.
That's a pretty terrifying prospect.
And this is where the theory takes on a darker, more sinister tone. It's not just about a shift in power.
Right.
It's about a fundamental change in the way society functions
Right.
and how individuals relate to authority.
It's a reminder that these conspiracy theories, even if they seem far-fetched, can have real-world consequences. They can shape people's perceptions of the world,
Yeah.
fuel mistrust and fear, and even lead to violence in extreme cases.
That's why it's so important to approach these theories with a critical eye,
Right.
to understand their origins,
Yeah.
their motivations, and their potential impact.
Yeah.
Just because something sounds plausible or taps into our existing fears doesn't mean it's true.
Well said. It's all about being discerning consumers of information,
Ah.
questioning our assumptions,
Yeah.
and being willing to challenge our own beliefs when presented with new evidence.
Exactly.
And sometimes that evidence can lead us in unexpected directions. For instance, there's a fascinating connection
really?
between Project Bluebeam and an unproduced Star Trek script by Gene Roddenberry.
Star Trek.
Wait, Star Trek, now this I have to hear.
Yeah.
What's the connection between a science fiction TV show and a global conspiracy theory?
It turns out that Roddenberry's script featured a plot involving a fake alien deity
Okay.
attempting to control humanity through technology and manipulation. Really, the similarities to Project Bluebeam are pretty striking.
Wow, that's a wild twist.
Yeah?
Did Monist deliberately draw inspiration from Roddenberry's work, or did he genuinely believe he was uncovering a real secret plan that just happened to mirror a science fiction plot?
It's a question that's difficult to answer definitively,
Right?
but it raises fascinating questions about the origins of these theories
Yeah.
and how seemingly unrelated ideas can converge in unexpected ways.
It's like a real-life truth is stranger than fiction scenario.
Right.
So we've got this intricate plan
Yeah.
with 4 steps
Yeah.
leading to global chaos and the establishment of a new world order.
That's right.
And it might be inspired by a discarded Star Trek script.
Yeah?
This is definitely one of the more out there deep dives we've done.
It definitely highlights the complex and often blurry lines between
Yeah.
belief reality and the power of narrative.
But there's more to unravel here. Before we go any further, let's pause for a moment and give our listener a chance to digest all this information.
That's a good idea.
This is a lot to take in. We'll be right back after a quick break to delve deeper into the world of Project Bluebeam
Okay.
and explore its implications for our understanding of conspiracy thinking in the digital age.
Right.
Let's take a break.
Sounds good. Welcome back to our deep dive into Project Bluebeam.
Where we left off, we were discussing the rather unsettling vision of the New World Order, according to Serge Monist,
Right.
and how this elaborate plan might have been inspired by an unproduced Star Trek script.
It really makes you think about how fiction can sometimes influence our perception of reality. But before we go down that rabbit hole,
Right.
there's another layer to this story
Okay.
that adds to the intrigue.
You're talking about Monist's death in 1996.
Yes.
I remember reading that there were some suspicious circumstances surrounding it.
Yes, officially the cause of death was a heart attack.
Okay.
But among his followers,
Right.
there were persistent rumors that he was assassinated to silence him
Really?
and suppress the truth about Project Bluebeam.
That's a common trope in conspiracy theories, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eliminate the messenger to discredit the message?
It feeds into that narrative of powerful forces working behind the scenes to control information and manipulate the public.
So we have a complex plan, a charismatic leader who dies under mysterious circumstances,
Yeah.
and a network of believers convinced that something sinister is happening.
Right.
It's almost like the plot of a suspense thriller.
And that Star Trek connection adds another layer of complexity to the narrative.
You're right.
It makes you wonder if Monist was consciously crafting a compelling story,
Okay.
borrowing elements from fiction
Yeah.
to create a more believable and impactful theory.
Or maybe he truly believed he'd stumbled upon a real plan that just happened to echo a science fiction storyline.
Right.
It's hard to know for sure what was going on in his mind.
Yeah.
But it's a fascinating example of how these theories can emerge and take hold.
Regardless of Monist's intentions, his theory resonated with a certain segment of the population.
Okay.
People who are already skeptical of authority,
Okay.
fearful of a new world order,
Right.
and searching for explanations for the complexities of the world around them.
And those feelings of fear and uncertainty can be powerful motivators,
Absolutely.
driving people to seek out information that confirms their existing beliefs,
Yes.
even if that information is based on speculation or misinterpretations of events.
Especially in the age of the internet where information spreads so rapidly
Right.
and with little oversight,
Yeah.
conspiracy theories can gain traction quickly
Yeah.
and influence people's perceptions in ways we couldn't have imagined just a few decades ago.
It's like a perfect storm for misinformation.
Yeah.
So given the lack of concrete evidence
Right.
and the questionable plausibility of some of the claims, why do you think Project Bluebeam continues to hold such appeal for some people?
I think it taps into several primal fears and anxieties
Okay.
that are deeply embedded in our collective psyche.
Okay.
There's the fear of the unknown,
Mm-hmm.
particularly when it comes to technology
Right.
and its potential to be used for manipulation and control.
That makes sense. We're living in a time of rapid technological advancement,
Right.
and it can be overwhelming trying to keep up with all the changes.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like we're losing control, that things are happening beyond our understanding. And that makes us vulnerable to narratives that offer simple explanations and clear enemies.
Right. And then there's the fear of losing our individuality,
Okay.
of being absorbed into a faceless collective,
Mm-hmm.
which is at the heart of the New World Order conspiracy theory.
Right.
Project Bluebeam takes that fear and amplifies it
Okay.
by suggesting that this control will be achieved through sophisticated technology and deception.
It plays on our anxieties about being manipulated, about losing our free will, and about becoming mere pawns in a larger game that we don't fully understand. And when you add in the religious element,
Right.
the idea of a fake second coming orchestrated to deceive the faithful, it adds another layer of emotional resonance for those who hold strong religious beliefs.
It's like a betrayal of something sacred, a violation of trust
Right.
that feeds into those existing anxieties about the erosion of traditional values and the rise of secularism.
So it's not just about the fear of technology or the loss of control.
Yeah.
It's also about a sense of spiritual displacement, a feeling that the foundations of our belief systems are under attack.
Exactly. Project Bluebeam weaves together these various threads of fear and uncertainty,
Right.
offering a seemingly coherent narrative that resonates with those who are looking for answers in a complex and often confusing world.
But as we've discussed, this narrative is built on a foundation of speculation interpretations of events and connections that may not hold up under scrutiny.
Right.
So what can we do to combat the spread of misinformation and encourage a more critical approach to these kinds of theories?
I think it starts with promoting media literacy and critical thinking skills.
Okay.
We need to equip people with the tools to evaluate information, to recognize bias,
Yeah.
and to distinguish between credible sources
Mm-hmm.
and those that are peddling misinformation.
And it's not just about debunking specific claims or pointing out factual inaccuracies.
Wow.
It's about understanding the underlying motivations and anxieties that drive people to embrace these theories in the first place.
It's about engaging in respectful dialogue, acknowledging people's concerns, and encouraging them to question their own assumptions.
Right.
It's not about silencing dissent or dismissing those who hold different beliefs,
Okay.
but about fostering a culture of critical thinking and open inquiry.
It's about recognizing that we all have biases and that our perceptions of the world are shaped by our experiences and the information we consume.
Yeah.
So it's crucial to be aware of those biases, to seek out diverse perspectives, and to be willing to change our minds when presented with new evidence.
It's a lifelong process of learning and unlearning, of questioning and refining our understanding of the world around us.
And it's a process that's more important now than ever, given the sheer volume of information we're exposed to on a daily basis.
That's a great point. With the rise of social media and the 24/7 news cycle,
Right.
we're constantly bombarded with information,
Mm-hmm.
and it can be difficult to filter out the noise and identify what's credible and what's not. It's like trying to drink from a fire hose.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where critical thinking skills become essential.
Yes.
It's about being able to step back, assess the information we're receiving, and ask ourselves, who's saying this? What's their motivation?
Well-
What evidence do they have to support their claims?
Right.
And it's about being willing to challenge our own beliefs,
Yes.
to question the narratives that we've come to accept as truth.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that certainty is often an illusion and that the world is a lot more complex and nuanced than we might initially believe.
It's about embracing curiosity, skepticism,
Right.
and a willingness to learn from those who hold different perspectives.
Yeah.
And it's about recognizing that the search for truth is an ongoing journey, not a destination.
That's a powerful message. So as we continue our deep dive into Project Bluebeam, let's keep these ideas in mind. Let's examine the theory not just as a set of claims about a global conspiracy, but as a reflection of our deeper anxieties and our human need to make sense of the world around us.
And let's use it as an opportunity to reflect on our own beliefs, to challenge our assumptions, and to strengthen our critical thinking skills in an age of information overload.
Well said. We'll be back after a quick break to explore the lasting impact of Project Bluebeam and what it reveals about the nature of conspiracy thinking in the digital age. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Project Bluebeam,
where we've been exploring not just the theory itself, but what it reveals about the nature of conspiracy thinking and its impact on society.
It's tempting to dismiss these theories as just fringe ideas. But as we've seen, they can have real-world consequences that go beyond online forums.
Absolutely. Belief in conspiracy theories can erode trust in institutions, lead to social isolation, and even incite violence.
We've witnessed this with movements like the anti-vaccine movement and the rise of QAnon.
It's a stark reminder that these theories often exploit real anxieties and grievances that people are feeling. That sense of powerlessness, alienation, or fear of the unknown can make these narratives incredibly appealing.
They offer a sense of certainty and control in a world that can feel increasingly complex and unpredictable.
It's like having a key that unlocks a hidden truth, making everything suddenly make sense.
You're in the know while everyone else is oblivious, blindly following along. That feeling of having special knowledge can be very seductive. It creates a sense of belonging within a community that believes they hold the truth.
Which makes it even harder to challenge those beliefs. Speaking out can feel like betraying the group. Or denying what you've come to accept as truth.
So how do we approach these conversations without further alienating those who believe in these theories? It seems like a delicate balance between addressing misinformation and respecting individual beliefs.
It's crucial to approach these conversations with empathy and understanding. Instead of immediately dismissing or belittling someone's beliefs, try to understand the underlying fears and anxieties that might be driving them.
That makes sense. Rather than attacking the belief itself, focus on addressing the root cause of that belief. But how do you bring critical thinking into the conversation without making it feel like a lecture?
Encourage open-ended questions and exploration of alternative perspectives. Instead of saying that's wrong, you could ask, what led you to that conclusion? Or have you considered this other viewpoint?
It's about creating a space for genuine dialogue, not winning an argument.
And it's important to acknowledge that the internet has created this echo chamber effect, where people are constantly exposed to information that reinforces their existing beliefs.
That's why it's more important than ever to be mindful of the information we consume. And to actively seek out diverse perspectives. We can't just passively scroll through our social media feeds and expect to get a balanced view of the world.
So it's about being proactive in our information consumption.
But with so much content out there, how can we determine what's credible and what's not? It feels like a constant game of whack-a-mole with misinformation popping up everywhere.
Developing strong media literacy skills is key.
Okay.
This involves evaluating sources, checking for bias, and looking for evidence-based claims, rather than just accepting things at face value.
And it's not just about fact-checking individual claims. It's about understanding the broader context and the motivations behind the information we're consuming.
Exactly. Ask yourself, who benefits from spreading this information?
Okay.
What's the agenda? Is there another side to this story?
It sounds like a lot of work.
It is work.
Yeah.
But it's crucial for maintaining a healthy skepticism. And avoiding the trap of blindly accepting whatever we see online.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Project Bluebeam, I think the biggest takeaway is this. While the theory itself might be far-fetched, it serves as a valuable case study in the allure and danger of conspiracy thinking.
It highlights the human need to find explanations to seek patterns and meaning, even when those patterns are based on flimsy evidence or misinterpretations.
It's a reminder that we all have a responsibility to be critical thinkers. To evaluate information carefully and to engage in constructive dialogue, even when it's challenging.
And to remember that the truth, whatever it may be, is often more complex and nuanced than they might initially believe.
Right.
It's a journey of continuous learning and questioning.
Well said. And on that note, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Project Bluebeam. We hope you found it insightful, thought-provoking.
Yes.
And maybe even a little bit entertaining.
And most importantly, we hope it's encouraged you to stay curious, to keep questioning, and to keep diving deep into the world of ideas.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.